This episode is in partnership with Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine, a Medium publication, is devoted to sharing in-depth and interesting interviews featuring people who are authorities in business, pop culture, wellness, social impact, and tech.
Joining me as guest host today is the wonderful Jane Sibbett. Jane is a talented actress and storyteller, best known for her role in the TV hit series Friends. Jane is multi-talented. She's also a writer, producer, director, photographer, advocate, and source conduit. Jane is one of the most compassionate and insightful people I know.
Amy, I am so excited to have my dear friend, Andrea Bendewald, who is actress, mother, friend, lover to the world, facilitator, and just inspired facilitator of the art of circling here with us today. She has been holding sacred space for so many people, particularly women, all around the world, not only in person, but online. And I am just, at this time, in this place in the world, I cannot imagine a better way to start our day than speaking to Dre. So welcome, Dre, for coming today.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm so happy to be here. Yes. And just to have any kind of connection, authentic drop in with women that are feeling a lot and also doing a lot in this highly activated time that we're in.
Yes, truly. It's just the whole world needs to know what you are doing in this art of circling, Jay. And we can go from your whole beginnings as an actress and out there in the world and how that's relevant to this. But I would love to just jump right into what it is that you do and why do you do this beautiful art of circling. Tell us the story. How did it begin for you?
Well, you're a big part of the story, Jane. When I moved out to LA, I was a young actress, 24, landed in Laurel Canyon, and you were one of the women that were holding space and leading goddess circles. And I was already an actress from New York City. I trained but LA drew me to its fucking magical dreamland.
Yeah.
So I had to be here.
Yeah.
And the first circle I ever sat in changed me completely. So it opened me up. I didn't have a religious background, but I had a little bit of experience. But it was the spiritual connection that I felt that just cracked me open. And I thought, we should be circling all the time and everybody should experience this feeling that I was feeling. I mean, that's like, if I whittled it down to that, it was, I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt loved, I felt connected, I felt accepted, I felt home, I felt tuned in, I felt turned on. I mean, you name it. I had like a awakening experience. And my joke is, I've been chasing that high ever since, and that was 30 years ago. I like stepped into my dharma in that moment by sitting in a circle. It kind of led me to this longer experience of, especially for women, they need this. I need this. And so we kept circling, you kept circling, I started leading circles. We circled for every, experience imaginable, for baby blessings and weddings and birthdays, or somebody got a job, somebody lost a job, somebody needed a job, like you name it. We were like, let's sit in a circle facing one another, connect to something beyond ourselves, and see what wants to come through. So what I understand now, 30 years later, is we were opening up to spirit. We were opening up a portal. We were channeling together.
Yeah.
And all we were doing was sitting in a circle and sharing our truth, where we were at. That's it. Nothing too crazy. Everybody's like, oh, were you sacrificing animals? No,
just baby carrots.
No.
Baby carrots.
Yeah, it's still dangerous in parts of the world. This type of women coming together is forbidden. They'll So it's still dangerous. But here in LA, it felt like we were, I love the image that Eckhart Tolle paints in The New Earth. It was like we were just like the flowers emerging together out of the soil. Like our time had come, and this way was emerging. And I heard the call, you heard the call, and I kept answering the call.
Yeah.
So I started leading my own circles, and then cut to here we are today talking about it on a podcast. But I just kept leading them. I was learning from women like you. I was learning from books that we shared. I was learning by doing it. I was learning by sitting in other circles. And I have literally, I thought about it for this podcast. I have not stopped circling. Like I circled every month, at least once, twice, three times a month, ever since that first circle. Ever since that first circle 30 years ago in Laurel Canyon.
That magical mountaintop that we all came together.
Andrea,
Yeah.
so how does that with that, and we talked about the magic of LA and your home, and now we're facing these apocalyptic times. There is not only with the fires in LA and displacement and terrifying fear and devastation and all these heavy words, but also there's been an election. There has been a shift, almost you feel like 10 steps backwards. Things are happening so quickly with decisions, and now TikTok and all of these things that are going on. How do we, more importantly, then get into these circles? Like, how do we realize that this is the most important time, that we need this?
Yeah. We just keep going. And I like to think that whereas one group is really in fear right now because there's a lot to be upset about and triggered, and rightfully so. And just know that before the election, there was also the same fear amongst another group of people that felt the same way. And if we can detach just for a second and go, there's that, I don't know, saying chop wood, carry water before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water after enlightenment.
Mhm.
Same thing. Chop would carry water when things are going your way. Chop would carry water when things aren't going your way. Like we still have to keep going, and this work, this way of being together, and I'm covered in chills, is for me is now like exploding. When November happened, and I'm speaking for myself, I didn't go down. I went up. I was like, game on, let's go. More circles, more connection, more prayer, more healing, more breath work, more marching, whatever your calling is. Yes, more. And I also hang on to the fact that look at what did come out of the last election. Look at who did. Look at what, I voted Democrat. I voted for Kamala. Look at what Kamala did.
Yeah.
Look at what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not letting go of that. Yes, what's happening now is the opposite, but that doesn't take away what did happen, the rise that did happen. So I'm part of that. I'm staying connected to that rise. I'm staying connected to all of you. I'm staying connected to unconditional love that Jane channels through Dancing Hands. Like that hasn't changed for me. I'm staying connected to, now I understand, my open channel. It only took me 30 years to understand this, by the way.
It's every day. Chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, how do you open that little hole? How do you open that little baby pinhole to let that in? How do we do that as mere mortals?
Yes,
every day.
Yes. How do
every
we
day
do it?
practice? Every day.
Yeah. We share these conversations, and we share them in groups. I love to talk about this stuff, but I learned so much about everything through circling with other women.
And sharing the wisdom. When you're in these circles and you're suddenly across these women and you have no idea the wisdom that's pouring through them. Again, everybody's channeling from the collective, the greatest, deepest, most comforting or inspired wisdom, or we share tears together. It's been quite extraordinary. I don't know if you heard Michael Beckwith had said when all of this was coming up last time, we were at this crossroads, and he'd said, I'm glad this happened. I'm glad this happened because now that horrible, thing is out from under our bed. That little thing that we were worried about, that little nightmare, or it was hiding in the closet. It's out so we can see it and we can deal with it and we can talk about it and we can flesh that wound, right? Yeah. So that's probably part of this uplift, huh?
I felt it when Obama was first elected, and we were all very excited and the world was excited. And I kind of stood at the back of the room and I was excited too. And I went, this is going to reveal the other side.
Yeah.
This is going to reveal because I spent a lot of time in areas that did not vote for Obama, let's say. And I went, oh, they're not changing overnight and all of a sudden going to be so thrilled that we have this leader, this amazing, dignified leader. The opposite is going to be revealed.
Yeah.
So it feels like in these crazy times, like both are true. Like the dark feels a little darker and the light feels a lot brighter. So what am I going to do? I'm going to focus on the light. I'm going to keep my eye on the dark, but I'm going to focus on the light and what I can do to keep sane, productive, in love, in light, in community, not acceptance, but in like in motion. I want to stay in play. Some people have to go like panic, fear, retreat, freeze. Great. You do what you need to do. I do that, but I can recover kind of quickly, and then keep going, keep shining, keep loving, I guess the word fighting comes to mind.
Rising, peacekeeping, whatever that is.
That's right. And I think the language is so important. It's ironic to me that if we have, we're gathering in love or we're gathering in healing, the language sometimes is anti this.
Right.
And so it doesn't speak to the heart. It doesn't lend itself to what we're trying to do. So I think, and I want to know more about circling. Like if you could just, in my mind's eye, and for the audience and listeners, viewers, and listeners, what does that look like? And also in a world that we went from a pandemic, so we were shut down, to people, maybe probably more so, maybe the younger generation where they feel that everything now is at their fingertips. They don't need to do the face-to-face. How do we bring people together now because of all of these things?
Right. So I have 2 teenagers and I'm so blessed because they really are into FaceTime and community and being with their friends during these times. So they don't feel like, there's a lot of good happening with our youth, and simply put, circling is coming together with an agreed upon attention as a group, and that there is it's not a conversation. It's not one person speaking and leading and teaching, but it's an interactive talking meditation. That's how I like to look at it. So usually there's a facilitator. Clearly that's me. And I love to hold space where I bring people together in a circle. We sit in a circle, even on Zoom. We see in our mind's eye that we're sitting in a circle, which means we're all facing one another and that everybody's presence is of equal value. So even if you're just sitting there listening, you are providing something of great value. So it's honoring each and every person in the circle. So it's the opposite of a hierarchy. It's the opposite of a triangle. It's the opposite of a classroom. It's experiencing group energy. And like Jane was saying, simply put, everybody's invited to share. And I'm really sneaky about this. I always get everybody to share somehow, even when they're really nervous and they don't want to share.
Very good at this.
That's a good
Because,
gift to have.
yeah, because it invites people to be present with themselves and with one another. And we're all looking for more permission to be both, to be present with ourselves, to be present with spirit, and to be present with one another. And we sit in a circle. I always do an opening, a meditation to bring us all together. I do connect to spirit. I try to keep it as accessible to everyone so it doesn't exclude anyone's beliefs or, it doesn't step on any toes. And then we go around the circle and everybody's invited to share. Usually there's a theme, but almost always there's a theme that comes through the collective that I've learned that's what really wants to be shared about. So we could go around and start sharing about one thing and it ends up being about something else. And then I've learned you kind of lean into that theme and you explore it a little more. And there are these guidelines that really keep it a container where the ego gets to kind of stay outside the circle a little bit. And so the ego would want to come in. And if Amy, you shared something about something you were going through, my ego would want to help you, would want to share my brilliant insights about what I think you need to do with your problem. And the guidelines that I've curated, a lot I learned from Jane, and we've learned from practices from all over. I've kind of curated them so they really just serve the circle so that we can have this experience of just being present with ourselves, one another, and sharing what authentically wants to come through. So we're not giving feedback, we're not giving advice, we're just sharing.
So what you just said was a aha moment for me because, having studied Eckhart Tolle and the ego and so forth, when you just said the inclination is to want to share or help or to support somebody, to give advice, in my experience, what have you, if you said, so forth, that is the ego. I didn't really dawn on me until this very moment because it is you, because you have the propensity to want to say something to someone to solve, and that's my solution, not that you're not really honoring the other person in that way. Oh wow, that is
Absolutely.
fascinating.
The other thing I love about it is, Amy, you share something that is really big.
Is that ego driven when I just said that, by the way?
No.
No. It is truth, vulnerability, honesty, integrity.
No,
all
it's
of
so
the
good.
things.
It's so good
Yeah,
because
perfect.
it gives me, because now I want to share more about what you just said, is that if you share something really big and challenging, let's say a big challenge, you're going through something big and there's tears and there's a lot. If I'm not used to sitting with my own feelings, your big feelings are going to make me uncomfortable. So I'm going to want to talk and offer to get away from my own feelings. That is also the ego. The ego wants to kind of, be in control and make everything okay, including myself. So the circle practice is if I can sit and breathe and hold space and not fix and not mend all of what you just went through, not only am I giving you this incredible opportunity to hold yourself, I'm also giving it to me. Can I breathe? Can I hold space? Can I just like witness and take care of myself after Amy's share? So it's this simple and it ends up being profound, and everybody leaves the circle feeling more aligned and strengthened and all the other beautiful things, valued, seen, heard. And I may not have shared anything, but I got to witness myself. And oh my God, Jane, I have such a specific memory of sitting in a circle at the ranch. One of the early days is there was I don't know if it was Ruby or I don't know who it was, but it was a young girl, 14. So like just like really new
Yeah.
to like sitting in the women's circle. And I want to be very clear, Amy, this is our first time knowing each other. I was born and raised in New York. I'm a survivor. I had a closed off New York, don't fuck with me, I'm fine exterior. Okay. So I had a lot of judgment that I had to undo. Okay. Which is why I was drawn to circling. So I'm sitting in Jane's circle and this young girl shares. And we all just like opened up and leaned in and we were just like rooting for her beautiful share to come through. And it was beautiful and amazing. Right. And it dawned on me. I was like, why am I not offering that type of openness and love to each woman in the circle? Because the woman before, the 14-year-old, I was judging her. I was like, oh, she's going on and on. Why is she talking about that? Right? All this judgment. And then I was like, oh, that's the point. I got to witness myself in the circle. Look at how judgmental I was being. Look at how open and loving I was being. And that was an epiphany. That was the gift. I didn't say anything. Just witnessing myself in the circle. And so that's why I'm addicted to this practice.
It's the deepest kind of listening,
I get to know myself and work on myself in each and every circle.
You give yourself such great access for that deep, deep listening, for community, for one another. But it also opens up your intuition in deeper ways, because suddenly everything's like, oh, that's what, as Dre just pointed out there.
Yeah. Oh, the ego.
Oh.
And then you read a book like A New Earth and you're like, oh, that's what was going on. Now I get it.
Actually, I'm just rereading that for the 20th time.
Oh,
Yeah.
when I read that book, I was like, this is the new, this is it. This is that. This is all, you don't have to read anything ever again. This is it.
Exactly. It's true.
It's so interesting because there were so many years that I had to stop reading, which was hard for me as someone who loves to read. And my greatest source of understanding and listening was to people in circle. You know, I remember this time we have a mutual friend, Lee Kilton Smith, who is a font of wisdom, creative, just fabulous woman. And I remember her just talking about driving in traffic. And I think this was on her way across town, so like an hour and a half to my ranch. And it was right after 9/11. We had this big circle, and she just said she just looked over at somebody in rush hour traffic, and she could have been angry about the traffic, but it gave her the opportunity to look right and see that somebody else was weeping in the car next to her. So you have that opportunity to see our humanity in these circles. And then she shared that, and of course it gave us all permission to weep together, or to laugh together, or to celebrate together. It's been an extraordinary journey. Dre, if you could gather for anybody in this. Oh, yes, please do. Please do.
That, because it ties to what Amy said, to what you said, is I had a friend over who lost everything in the fire, and everything. And we were talking, and she was laughing, crying. And she said, I've read all the books. She goes, and now I have to apply everything I've learned. And I was like, right. Thank you. Yes. And so to answer your question, Amy, like what we were talking about before, is now we have to apply everything we know in whatever. We're in another dark age, let's call it. Like, okay, what do we do in the dark age? We go in, we keep the fire going, we gather, we circle, we rise, we keep going. So we apply what we know, and keep learning, and keep learning. That's what I wanted to.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I think too, now more than ever, when we feel that we're out, and there's and when we're with other people, for whatever reason, that whatever they're going through, we still need to honor ourselves and and bring the positivity or the optimism. I would say optimism, because it's very easy to fall into the negativity and the darkness and the heaviness. And I think we just have to really honor ourselves to say, to, to greet somebody or to whatever it is that, and not expect whatever
Yeah.
response we're anticipating, but just to
Right.
be and to
Mhm.
give. I think that
Yeah.
that's really important now more than ever, with the fires and the election and the, everything that's going on. It's
Mhm.
just overwhelming.
Yeah. And when you said positivity, I also heard the word light. Like if you are light, if you are feeling light, be light, bring the light. Be the light.
Yeah.
And not and I don't have to go into the dark trenches with everybody that's feeling dark. No, I'll stay over
Yeah,
here and
exactly.
be the light, not to be Pollyannic and not to spiritually bypass and not to say like don't feel, but the opposite. If I'm feeling that I have light to give, to share, love to give, to share, compassion, empathy. Yes, and
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And
more of that. More of
holding space for what people are going through and giving the opportunity for us to move forward together.
Yes.
And I know that there are people that sometimes get fearful of, oh, are we not to speak out? And does this, some of the old circles, people, women in particular, would arrive, and it was something DNA. It was like, what are we in, like the burning times again? What is it? Why is it so emotional for me to be able to express myself or not being able to express myself? And in these coming times when it is essential for us to communicate our love, our gifts, all that we can offer, these circles offer such a great opportunity. And so, Drea, I wanted to ask you, who are these circles for? Who do you believe in your world? Who do you believe these circles are for?
I believe in the ripple effect. And now more than ever, I believe in energy. And I believe that the women that find me are looking for what I was looking for when I found you. So the circles are for women primarily, some men, but I'm drawn to gather with women. It's what I needed to heal most, and what I feel is what my gifts serve most are women, helping them love themselves, find their voice, be their authentic selves, you name it. And circling is my medicine, or it's my medicine, and it's my gift. So I find that women that are also answering the call, let's think about the Eckhart Tolle, like the consciousness that is emerging at the same time. We're all just finding each other. We're like popping up all over the place. And now, thank God to social media, which I love, I see women's sacred gatherings and circles happening all over the place. So it's for anyone who is looking for exactly what I was looking for, which was community, connection, self love, like learning how to love myself, learning how to cry. Jane, Jane, I, I like didn't cry until I started circling. You don't understand? Like I would cry, but it would be like a traumatic event in a bathroom by myself where I
Right.
thought I was going to die, or acting whatever, but that was like all kind of whatever, safe. Acting was safe. But I sat in circles. I cried for the first time and I didn't die.
Yeah, I
And
call them the
nobody
quiet
told me,
tears.
and yeah, and nobody
Because they just,
told me, yeah,
yeah.
nobody told me, don't cry, it's okay, you're okay. Nobody told me. The container, the space, the women held my tears, and I was like, that was the most, it was like an orgasm. I was like, that's the most incredible thing I've ever felt before.
Yeah.
And I learned how to cry, and now I help other women in this fun, accessible way. That like tears are welcome, tears are necessary. If women aren't crying, who's crying? Because I heard in almost every circle, starting with yours, Jane, and I was one of them. I would start to cry while I was sharing, not knowing what was happening, right? But it was the collective. I would start to cry and I would say, I'm sorry I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm sorry I'm crying. And that
That
script,
mantra goes
Jane,
through
that
so many people.
fucking mantra
Right, right.
came up in every circle.
Every
It was a
circle, every circle. It
collective,
still
every
happens.
circle. It still happens. Every circle,
Yeah.
it's like a collective wound.
Yeah.
So I am really passionate about healing that collective wound. So it's for women that are in that just they know that there's something beyond what they've been living, that their life wants their being wants to be in more full free expression of itself. They want freedom.
Yes.
They want
Yes.
freedom.
Freedom to express all of
They want
it.
yes, and
And the
they
laughter that comes from that, breaking it open.
Exactly.
Breaking it open, because we're free to be who we are.
It's
yes,
so
and
true.
nobody's really holding them back. I mean, wait, let me be clear. There's a lot holding women back, and I'll speak for myself. There was more holding me back that was coming from within than that was coming from without. I was an American citizen, white woman with enough means, opportunity, you name it. Who was holding me back? A lot of my inner misinformation.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that there are a lot of people that don't have this kind of like access to this like language or freedom. So you asked me like about my circles. It's for women that are seeking this kind of freedom.
So I would say then, Dre, this is Believe in People, and we always ask, unfortunately, I mean, I wish we could speak for hours. This is so incredible. And I think could you speak to then, this is Believe in People. Why should we then continue to, I mean, I know it's obvious, but believe in people?
Oh, well, it's because we came here to have this human experience and to feel all these incredible feelings. And I'll just speak from where I'm at with the LA fires. Believe in people. I mean, the humanity and the beauty and the love that has poured through this community during something that is the unimaginable. The opposite is true. The beauty in humanity is unimaginable. I think we're just like cracking the surface as to what we're capable of when it comes to community, love, and coming together. So that's why I believe in people.
Yeah, that's great.
Beautiful.
Is I'm more. I mean, I'm people. It sounds a little crazy, but I'm more inspired now than ever.
I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by you being inspired because it's so true. When you look at the LA fires or you look at the election, we can lift. This is an opportunity for us to really connect and extend that love. That's how we rise. So that's incredible.
More love, more love.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, more love. And I feel like even that simple idea, more love, means something totally different to me today than it did 2 weeks ago.
See, more love on the fire, more love on the fire.
Yeah.
And you inspire so many people to let their transmutive fires just play and change the whole world. And like, I am so grateful for you, Dry. I'm so grateful. And I've always been your biggest cheerleader from afar when I can't come.
All 30 years. All 30 years.
Amazing.
And she's my, I call you my, fairy goddess mother of circling, like my teacher, my big sister, my soul sister.
Yes, definitely. Little sister, big sister. I mean, but you have done this all mostly on your own. You came to the circles and you ran with it. And I am so happy. And I've always loved your vision of all the interlocking circles on the world, or the concentric circles of how we can all work together. And I am just so grateful, especially now. So how can we find you?
Oh, well, Instagram's the easiest way. It's Andrea Bendewald, Andrea Bendewald. I know you'll have it in your show notes. And also, I have a podcast, Circle This Podcast, which is up and running. And then my website will be up and running. We're redoing it right now, and it's theartofcircling.com. And so
Fantastic.
all my offerings are on those, that's the easiest way to follow me.
Yeah, and your online circles are as wonderful as being in person with you for retreats or
Oh yeah, retreats, yeah. And also I offer a free gathering every Saturday. It's virtual, it's donation based. Right now, all the donations go to the fire relief programs. And they're every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and anybody can join. And I do a 20-minute meditation, and then we share afterwards. But some people just come for the meditation.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Drea. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I would say always, all these 30 years, I've been preparing us for this moment. And even more so that the work that we started 32 years ago that I started, and Dre came in about that time, that's what it's like. We've been preparing all our lives for this and these conversations. So I'm so grateful for you, Amy, just to give the opportunity for something like this to get out there right now when we need it most.
Well, I'm just really, as we're talking about this, Andrea coming on, I am inspired. I feel the love, and I feel that through what we're going through and all that is happening, all the more reason to love more, all the more reason to collectively and connectively join together. So I'm inspired by that. And I'm just so grateful that you connected us with Drea, and thank you.
Oh, gosh, thank you. Thank you.
That's so great.